Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Sloshy Joshy back with another YouTube video. This is my quarterback tight end rankings. I know. We missed yesterday's game, Thursday game. Um, and I'm sorry for that. I was a day behind on everything this week, but I promise starting next week, everything will come out. So my must-adds will be on Monday. Running backs will be on Tuesday, wide receivers Wednesday, and then quarterbacks and tight ends on Thursday in time for all the games. So apologies, obviously Dak, Jalen, um, Goddard, and Jake Ferguson, have already played. So again, apologies, but you'll see I made this list before the game, so I hold true to that. So let's see what we're looking like with the quarterbacks. So number one this week, I have Josh Allen. um, the Ravens actually gave up the second most passing yards last year. And again, it's week one. I can only go for last year's data. I know like people have made some changes. They added Jair Alexander. Kyle Hamilton, I think was banged up last year. He's healthy, so there's definitely going to be improvement there. I would think. But it's Sunday night. Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. Some say the MVP should have went to Lamar last year. Josh Allen got it, so it's kind of the battle of the first and second place MVP voting on Sunday Night Football. So primetime game, I expect a lot of points to be scored in this one. So Josh Allen, obviously, Josh Allen's like one of the best fantasy quarterbacks of all time if you like look at it, with the rushing and the passing upside. Lamar Jackson too, also probably one of the best fantasy quarterbacks of all time. You could argue those two. So Lamar Jackson had an amazing year last year. I kind of expect him just to pick up right where he left off, not skip a beat. So he's our number two, playing the Bills again on prime time. So I love both quarterbacks in that Sunday night matchup. Jalen Hurts was my three, so he had a good game last night. He ran into, which is always good. I know a lot of people play, passing touchdowns 4 points and rushing is 6. So we got a couple more points on the rushing touchdowns last night, which was good. So I think he did finish over his projections, and he put up a good amount of points, I believe, at the 24, 25, somewhere around there. So it's a great start. A great 24, 25, 20 plus from your QB1. You love that. So he had a good night last night. Cowboys' run defense was pretty terrible. They did do okay job stopping Saquon, actually. I mean, he had a touchdown, but I think he only got like 60 yards, and especially the end of the game, they seemed to be bottling him up a little bit. I know there was a delay, so who knows, if he was fatigued or something. But don't want to waste a lot of time on that. Sorry, rambling on. Jaden Daniels, my number 4, playing the Giants. Obviously the rushing upside's there. He's going to get you probably 40 to 50 rushing yards, in there on average. And then, I expect them to take a jump. They got more protection. They drafted a right tackle first round. They got Laramie Tunsil in the offseason. They added some weapons in Deebo Samuel, who they also traded for. So yeah, I expect Jaden Daniels' numbers to go up. And honestly, I'd probably have him in my top 5 on a weekly basis for the most part. Joe Burrow, number 5. Great matchup against the Browns. Only thing I'm a little hesitant about here is them just beating the hell out of them to the point where they're like sitting Joe Burrow in the fourth quarter or, something like that. So that's the only really caution there, though. But he should have a really good game. 2-3 touchdowns, I would think. And Joe Burrow's stat line, 300 yards, all that good stuff. Baker Mayfield, number 6. Like the division game against the Falcons. I think Baker's going to have a good year. He's got Mike Evans, Egbuka, Bucky Irving. They got a great offense over there in Tampa, and I think Baker's going to have a great game. Bo Nix as well, I also think is going to have a good game. He is playing the I'm blanking on who the Broncos are playing right now. One sec. He is playing the Titans. Yeah, so great matchup for Bo Nix. One of the worst teams, I would say, in the NFL. Bottom 3, bottom 4. You could probably put him in there for now. Hey, but everyone's 0-0 right now, right? So let's see what happens. But a good matchup for Bo Nix. They bring in Evan Ingram. Bring in a first round, or not a first round right back. Sorry, RJ Harvey. So they're adding weapons. They're building around Bo. They believe in Bo, and I think he's gonna have a good year. Kyler Murray at 8. Like Kyler Murray a lot. this week. Obviously, the rushing upside is there, of course, but he's playing the Saints, which they're probably worse than the Titans. So one of the worst defenses in the league, and Kyler Murray, I think, is gonna have a good year. I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people. Patrick Mahomes, number 9. So playing the Chargers on Friday night tonight. Um, Chargers do have a good defense, so it's not the best matchup. Rashee Rice is suspended, obviously. But I do think, with Worthy, with Pacheco, with Kelsey, he'll still be able to get it done and finish in the top 10 for quarterback 1 ranking. Trevor Lawrence is my 10 spot. So he plays the Panthers. And this game I expect to just be an absolute shootout. It's at 46.5 on the total score. I would honestly still go over. I think they're both just going to put up a lot of points. There's not a lot of defense being played on either of these teams. So we'll see we'll see what happens there. But Trevor Lawrence has a good matchup. He has obviously Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, which could be end up being one of the better duos in the NFL. At the end of the year, we could be talking about them as one of the better wide receiver duos. So really like the weapons he has, and I think they'll be able to put up some points on the Panthers. So up next, we have 11 through 20. So I'm just doing top 20 quarterbacks. I don't know. You have one. You're starting one, right? I probably don't even need to do 11 to 20, but just in case you're in a 2 quarterback league maybe or something like that, I'll run through 20 every week. But those were my top 10. Going into 11, Brock Purdy playing the Seahawks. Good divisional game. He's missing Ayuk, but and Juwan Jennings are a little banged up, but he's got McCaffrey coming back, supposedly 100% healthy. Kittle, is going to eat. It seems like Purdy and Kittle just have really good chemistry. And I think he's going to put up some good numbers. So Dak Prescott was 12. So I don't think he had a very good game. But I had him as 12 against an Eagles defense. They scored 20 points, but they were all rushing touchdowns. Dak didn't throw a touchdown. I think he had 200-ish yards, like around there. So not a great game from Dak. So hopefully you sat him. 13 is Drake May. He's playing the Raiders. Really like Drake May's upside this year. I think with another year of development, he can kind of calm that arm down. He has a great arm, really strong. But he also has really, surprisingly good rushing upside. So I really like him in fantasy for sure, just to get those rushing yards as well. Kind of like Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson offense. I'm really excited to watch him play this year. I think he's going to take a step up just with having a competent offensive coordinator at the helm. Will really help his game. And I think obviously there's rushing upside there as well. But I like Caleb Williams this week at 14. Matthew Stafford I have at 15. He is healthy. I'm erring on the side of caution with him pretty much all year. He scares me. It almost feels like if you squeeze him too tight, he's gonna break. So just kind of watching Matthew Stafford. But if he is 100% healthy, like they say, he has Devontae Adams, he has Puka Nacua. I mean, that might be one of the better 1-2s in the league right now. Kieran Williams at running back. They have a good offense, the Rams do. So if he plays, I expect them to put up some good points. And if he is 100% healthy. CJ Stroud I have a 16. He's playing the Rams. Good defense. This is actually Rams Texans matchup at 4 is going to be a good game, I think. Good defenses, but I do think Stroud's going to finish with 16. Nico Collins going to have a good game. He always does. Jordan Love's at 17. Packers, not Monday night. Sorry, that's Vikings. Bears. Packers are playing the Lions. That's right. So Lions actually had the 3rd most passing yards allowed last year. The Lions did. So Jordan Love, I think, will have a good game. Interesting to see if Matthew Golden will emerge as that guy, and kind of be that wide receiver 1 that we all want him to be. Everyone that took him late in the late rounds. So we'll see what happens. The Packers wide receiver room is just always so weird to me. It's always just this guy this week and this guy the next week and this guy and Jalen Reed this week and Romeo Dubes this week and all kinds of stuff. But I like Jordan Love. I think with a weak passing defense with the Lions, I do think he's going to put up some good numbers. I still think the Lions are going to win, and I actually do think that the Lions are underdogs in this one. Yeah, I like I like those plus odds for the Lions money line there. That's a little betting tip from Sloshy Joshy if you didn't know. Lions at plus odds is nice on Sunday. Jared Goff at 18. So Packers defense gets a boost with Micah Parsons coming. We'll see how the new Lions offense runs. Post Ben Johnson era. But I do think Jared Goff they have the weapons. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon Ra, Jameson Williams, Laporta. Jared Goff has all the tools to have a good fantasy season. So we're gonna put him at 18. Tua at 19. I only put him here. I'm not a big Tua guy, you guys know that, but he is playing a Colts defense that is not very good. Tyreek, Waddle, A-Chain seems to be 100% playing. That's what all the reports are saying. So, I mean, just the playmakers he has, right? The speed, with the upside of of big touchdowns is just appealing for Tua. So with a weak defense, I think he's going to get a couple of touchdowns this week. So I do like him at 19. Justin Fields I have at 20 just for the rushing upside. Um, if you are worried, he is playing the Steelers defense. It's not a good matchup at all. So I did struggle with 20. I put a few names in at 20. Justin Fields was the one I landed on, but I like him just because of the rushing upside, right? But Darnold, not a bad put at 20. Geno against the Patriots. Um, Bryce Young, maybe I could have put at 20. Now that I'm thinking about it, probably should have put Bryce Young. Bryce Young would probably be my 20, if not for Justin Fields. But I think I'm going to do Justin Fields. But yeah, that's the top 20 for quarterbacks. Let's get on to the next slide. So we got top 12 tight ends. So I was like, I would probably just do the top 12 and just a starting tight end, right? Not many people are playing two tight ends or putting a tight end in the flex. I don't really recommend it unless you have something like crazy, like you have Trey McBride and Brock Bowers. That's probably the only reason I would ever play two tight ends. But here's the top five. So top tier, Trey McBride, number one. He's playing the Saints. Very favorable matchup to the tight end position. And I expect him to get a ton of volume, ton of targets. Brock Bowers is my number two, playing the Patriots. Brock Bowers proved that he was worth all the hype last year. I expect that to continue. He gets an upgrade at quarterback with Geno Smith. It's not like a dream quarterback or anything, but it is an upgrade. And yeah, we'll see how Brock Bowers does with the Pete Carroll team. George Kittle, my number three. Again, Purdy, with Ayuk on the pup and Juwan Jennings kind of banged up. Really, it leaves Pearsall and Kittle right now as the two 100% healthy options. Obviously outside of McCaffrey, but I'm talking wide receivers, I guess. Kittle and Purdy, I talked about it earlier. Their chemistry is just crazy, so I think they have a great week. Number four is Travis Kelce, the newly engaged Travis Kelce, taking on the Chargers tonight on Friday Night Football. I do like him. Kind of the same situation, right? Rashee Rice is suspended. And Travis Kelce and Mahomes are just connected at the hip at this point. They just have chemistry that they've built over the past, 7 years or whatever. Travis Kelce, he's 35. He is slowing down. However, I think the volume will still be there. He's still going to be getting a ton of receptions, I think. Especially while Rashee Rice is out. When Rashee Rice comes back, we may see Kelce fall off a little. But with Rice out those first 6 weeks, I love him every week. David Njoku's my number five. Like the upside of Njoku, he had a really good year last year, kind of a quiet fantasy year, but he did finish really well. So he's going to round out my top five in tight ends this week. Number six is Mark Andrews. So, again, Sunday night against the Bills, you got to think Mark Andrews is scoring a touchdown. I don't know why. It just sounds right. Mark Andrews had a tough start to last year. He started very slow. I know it upset a lot of fantasy managers. But he did finish strong. I think he scored a touchdown in 6 of the last 7 games. So he is still the go-to red zone guy, I would think, outside of Derrick Henry, the go-to receiving red zone guy. So I like Mark Andrews at 6. Tyler Warren, I'm pretty high on him. I think he's going to be I know probably higher than a lot of people. You could probably slide him in between like Laporta and Ingram, but I do think he's gonna have a good week. I honestly think he's the best weapon the Colts have outside of Jonathan Taylor. I would take him over Pittman and uh, Josh Downs, and we'll see how Daniel Jones does. I know that I saw somewhere Daniel Jones has a pretty high target rate to the tight end, so I think Tyler Warren's going to be involved early and often in Indianapolis. T.J. Hawkinson at 8. We'll see how J.J. McCarthy likes to run the offense. It's kind of a test start, but you have J.J. Jettas, blah blah blah, and who else did they bring back Thielen? They did, right? Yeah, Thielen, not a bad wide receiver. Am I tripping on that? No, they did. They did. Yeah. Okay. Aaron Jones, Jordan Madison, T.J. Hawkinson. So T.J. Hawkinson's 100% healthy now. Do expect him to have a really good year. And yeah, Laporta at number 9 against the Packers. I like Laporta. Always have, always will. We'll see how he's utilized in this Ben Johnson offense. Number 10, I have Evan Ingram against on the Broncos now in the Sean Payton scheme with Bo Nix. So I do expect him to get some work, especially against the Titans. Has a really good matchup. Number 11, I had Jake Ferguson. Don't think he did anything crazy last night. Let's check. Yeah, I think he had 4 catches. 5 catches, 23 yards, so 7.3. So nothing crazy, but that's okay. We had him at 11, so right outside the top 10. And then Chig Nkonkwa. I think he's gonna have a good year. People are kind of sleeping on this guy. He's the Titans tight end. What do rookie quarterbacks do? They look for their checkdowns. They look for their tight ends, right? When they're a little nervous in the pocket. Cam Ward's first game. I think Chig has a good game as the Titans tight end. So there is my tight ends. That is my quarterbacks and tight ends rankings. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate all you guys that watch. It means a lot. So looking forward to the rest of the season. But appreciate you watching again. And see you guys on the next one. Peace.